More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Bowden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conway's done it!
Crumble for options, put it back to Morrell. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morrell. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Ross and Cardiff! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roll again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. In a week when Madrid's streets were jammed Sunday, not by protesters or football fans, but by a flock of sheep and goats being led through the Spanish capital in an annual festival that honours the area's rural heritage. The parade turned heads and drew crowds of thousands, and every year, organisers of the Transhumance Festival recreate the pastoral practice of removing livestock to new grazing grounds. The festival also spotlights the environmental benefits of traditional grazing, in which livestock are used to clear brush and other flammable undergrowth, reducing the spread of wildfires. The movement between seasonal pastures is called Transhumance. This year, some 1,100 Merino sheep and 200 goats took to the streets, organisers said. Madrid has held the festival since 1994, but towns and smaller cities in Italy, France and California have also held similar events. Not sure what the locals made of it, but I know that these two must have thought it was some kind of local brothel. It's Jamie and Daz.
All I heard then was Merino goats. Quite intrigued by Merino goats, I'll be honest.
Merino goats. Do you think they're the special ones? Thank you very much. Gentlemen, welcome. I know you've been doing wandering this week, particularly Daz, because Daz played tourist on Sunday.
Even I haven't been to this yet.
I know.
And I live 10 minutes down the road.
Plastic fans, that's what.
What were you doing in a rainy Sunday in Wrexham?
I was en route back from Liverpool, so I often take the more scenic route coming back down south. So I decided to go via Wrexham, and we were literally passing the junction. And I said to my youngest, I said, "Shall we?" And she said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we popped in. Had a look around just so that she could, because she's seen it on the documentary but never been in the building, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get my picture taken with the actual legend that is Joey Jones. So
nice.
It was a nice thing to be able to do.
Did it make up for the result?
No. I mean, it's we don't talk about that. We talk about European campaigns at the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
That seemed to be going much better.
Probably wise. Anyway, this week Wrexham celebrated its 161st birthday, with the first match ever played at the racecourse being 161 years ago this week. And one of its greatest supporters, Geraint Parry, has announced he is stepping down after over 2 decades as the club secretary. During good times and bad, Geraint has been ever present, beginning with helping to edit the match programmes to running the club's website. When Wrexham went into administration, the early turn of the 21st century, he was offered the role of club secretary at a time where there was barely a club left to service. Geraint talks openly in the press at the lowest times of the club. He said, "We had the meeting in Telford on a Thursday where they said, could Wrexham stay and step to one side at the end as if we were naughty schoolboys," he recalls, of the moment when the club were told to raise a bond of £250,000 over the weekend or be refused permission to play in the 2011-2012 season. Geraint was at the club in 2004 when it became the first in the Football League to be docked points for administration. He continued, "You still had to watch every penny and everyone helped out or mucked in," he said. "If you'd have a short turnaround between games, you wouldn't leave Mike cleaning the stadium on his own, so you'd go and walk up and down the terraces, or you'd be calling friends when it snowed to get down here with a shovel. We had a really cold winter once, and over Christmas, the physio from the rugby league side noticed the old pipes had burst. Water was coming out over the players' entrance. We were there, hands in freezing water, running everywhere to try and make sure we could open the stands for the next game." Geraint covered so many roles during his time at the club, from helping players to sort mortgages, ticketing, transfer deadline paperwork, even buying emergency toilet rolls. Although Geraint has stepped down as club secretary, he has been offered and has accepted the role as the official club historian. Jamie, this for me is a kind of a bit of a red letter moment, really, because Geraint is one of the last connections to the club pre Rob and Ryan, really, and he's going to be sorely missed, isn't he?
Massively. I think I think obviously the kind of localized fan base were aware of Geraint obviously before the takeover. I think one of the really good things that's come out of the last few years and the extra kind of spotlight and publicity that's on the football club is that more and more people are aware of Geraint now and what he does, what he's done, what part he's played in the club, not only in the last few years, but obviously, like you just said there, for a long, long time in the darkest of days. He shares the name Mr. Wrexham with Joey, and I think there is nobody that would argue with that at all. You via your wife obviously used to work at the club and work with him. Obviously, you were probably closer to it than an awful lot of us. I know she thinks incredibly, really, really highly of him, and not just as not just from a professional point of view, but as a human being. And I think everyone that has ever spoken about Geraint has only ever said good things. The only thing that I would say from this now is that I hope the club do something, because this all seemed to be very low key. Now, unless he specifically wants it this way, but even so, I do think, I'm not quite sure what, but I think it would be really nice for the club, I think, to do something to acknowledge his kind of contribution and efforts over the years. The fact that he's been offered this club historian role, which I mean this in the nicest possible way, but it sounds a little bit like a position they've created specifically for him, which is perfect because there is no one better for such a role. And if that means he gets to basically now enjoy a retirement on his own terms, but still keep connected to the football club in some way, if he's happy with it and it gives him what he wants, then all praise to him. Like you say, it's significant because it's the last major piece really that kind of before the connection to the football club before the takeover. So I just hope that if the new guy they've brought in as to replace him, if he's a fraction of what Geraint was, then we're in safe hands. But I just wish him all the very best for whatever a very well deserved retirement and enjoying this new role that he's got.
Absolutely. I love that picture, by the way. That just says, "I'm not." To me, it just says, "I'm not clearing this up," because he's just looking at the mess following the celebration. He's thinking, "I'm not cleaning this up," which is brilliant. Also announced this week, former. I can't believe I did that. Fuck me. Also announced this week, former Wales midfielder Joe Morrell has been forced to retire from professional football at the age of 28 because of an injury. According to the BBC Sport website, Morrell had been a free agent since being released by Portsmouth at the end of the 23-24 season. He's not played since sustaining knee cartilage damage in January 2024. Morrell was capped 37 times by Cymru and played at the Euro 2020s and 2022 Qatar World Cup. He began his career at Bristol City, and he's also played for Luton Town before spending 3 years with Portsmouth. His last appearance for Cymru was as a substitute in the goalless friendly draw with South Korea at the CCS in September 2023. Daz, this is really sad. 28 is just far too young. And Joe Morrell was kind of one of those dogged players. You know, when you watched him, you just thought, he's not spectacular, but he gets stuck in, and will do the job that he needs to do.
Yeah, no nonsense. Absolutely no nonsense player. I mean, fantastic servant to the country. I mean, he played in both the Euros in 2020 and he made it into the World Cup squad in Qatar. So, not to be taken lightly, what a career he's had. And yeah, so devastating that it's young. I mean, 28 is young. I know he spent a couple of years in rehab trying to get back to some kind of fitness. It's been such a tough journey for him, and for him to have sort of had to admit that, I guess it's every player's worst nightmare, isn't it? To have to admit that your body is the bit that's letting you down, not your talents or the lack of a club wanting to pick you, play you or anything like that. So he's been, literally best part of 2 years trying to recover. He gave it his best shot, and obviously we just want to say, congratulations on an amazing career, and good luck with everything, because obviously he's been doing his coaching badges, so there's clearly some potential, or there's some ambition there as well. So I'm hoping it won't be the last time we hear from him, but in some capacity linked to Cymru moving forward. But yeah, great servant, and a shame at such a young age.
So Saturday saw Wrexham travel all the way to the Midlands, to Stoke, to the Bet365 Stadium, to take on Stoke City in the next game of the EFL Championship. Let's look at the lineup first. Jamie, no changes at all from the Birmingham City game, which was the last game before the international break, although Libby Kakache and Ollie Rathbone were both on the bench and would play a part in this as substitutes. Any surprises for you, Jamie, on this one, that there weren't any changes from the starting 11 versus Birmingham?
I think similar to the last time you asked me this, Fair. Yeah, yes and no. I wasn't surprised from the point of view that if he can pick the same players, he does like consistency. There were one or two which were questionable whether they'd done enough to maybe keep their place in the side. I'm looking at the likes of, I know there's this constant question about Doyle and Brunt. Doyle seems to have struggled a little bit in the main. He has had some good flashes, but in the main he seems to have struggled a little bit. And obviously when Brunt came in for him, he played really well. Windass has been very, very quiet the last couple of games, and obviously Broadhead has been the opposite. And even Kiefer Moore, he had a blistering start to the season, but struggled in the last few games. And like I said, it's a stupid answer to your question. Was I surprised? Yes and no, but you know what I mean. I think there's an element of it. I was surprised, but reality is, if those players are fit, he likes consistency. We've seen this before, so.
Well, a turgid game, as somebody who was there and who made the
mistake. Game.
Turgid game.
Oh, right, okay.
Turgid. Who made the mistake of speaking to Matt from Racecourse Round before the game and saying, and I quote, "I wouldn't worry about Sorba Thomas. He's a one-trick pony." So it shows what I know, doesn't it? Absolutely nothing. Wrexham. This was arguably Wrexham's worst display of this season so far. Key players like Kabore, O'Brien, Windass and Moore all had poor games. Wrexham looked weak in attack. Very few true tests to the Stoke keeper, who was outstanding. If you ever want to look at what Conquo's doing wrong, you just need to look at Johansson from Stoke, because he was sure. He was commanding the box. He was closing down. He was passing the ball out fast whenever he got the ball, to the point where he did a long throw, basically all the way up to the other side of the pitch, cutting out 90% of the Wrexham players with one throw because it was a quick throw up. That kind of thing is the thing that we get frustrated, I think, about Arthur, but that's just the way it is. The best chance that we had was on 21 minutes when Kabore shot from the right, parried by the keeper, with the ball falling to Longman on the left, and with an open goal in front of him, he snatched the shot and hits the near post and puts the ball out. Daz, not sure whether you've seen this one.
Not seen this one, sorry guys.
No, that's all right, that's fine. Jamie, I know you've seen it because you said you watched the highlights. Many are saying, well, it happens. But we've said at this level, you have to take your chances. And this was a gilt-edged chance, wasn't it?
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It was a shit game of football.
Oh, terrible.
It was two teams that were shit on the day, playing shit. And like they were kicking shit. It was shit.
This was the frustrating thing for me. I wasn't angry, or I wasn't, I certainly didn't have because I know on social media, which we'll talk about in a minute, it's kind of blown up and lots of fans were very, very angry and whatever. But, I'm realistic, this is Stoke winning the Championship. I was just frustrated because I know we can play better and I've seen us play better. And Stoke were not that good. And I don't understand how they're fourth in the table. So it was just a massive amount of frustration for me.
I think the reason why I think they're fourth is because the one thing that they have nailed this season is a solid defence.
Yes,
we'd heard about this before the game, and you could see that. And at the end of the day, if they can nick, a fluky goal like they got against us, but then they're defensively solid, then they're going to pick up points and stay towards the top end of the league. I mean, the challenge for them will come when they come up against much more dynamic teams. I think, you just hit the nail on the head. I think the biggest frustration to this point, I think, for us all is that inconsistency. We've seen. I mean, you said to me before we came on about the fact we can't put 90 minutes together of playing well, which is spot on. We've seen in the first what we played now 10 games. In the first 10 games we played, we've seen 11 games. So we've played, we've seen 20-minute periods where we've been brilliant. We've seen halves where we've been brilliant. We've maybe seen an hour where we've been brilliant, but we're struggling to put it together over the course of 90 minutes. What is frustrating is this inconsistency at the minute, because we've said for a long time, jokingly, tongue in cheek, you don't know what Wrexham's going to turn up, but there's never been more apt than this season, because you literally, whether it's home or away, you don't know what you're going to get. We've seen some performances, like when we beat Norwich, for example, we were brilliant for parts of that game, and then during this game, we were terrible. But like you said at the beginning, what we are learning, and we're learning the hard way in this league, is you cannot afford to squander good chances. And, Ryan Longman turned into Sideshow Bob when that ball came to him, because his feet must have been about size 22, because how he's missed that, I don't know. Yeah. I suppose if you give him that ball 99 times out of 100, he puts it in the net. And to be fair to him, I'll try and give him a little bit of credit. I can see what he was trying to do. Obviously, the goalkeeper was at the far post and coming back across the goal. He's trying to place it into the part of the goal that had the biggest gap. But you can't miss chances like that. And get away with it. You just can't. You're just going to get punished. We've seen it already in 11 games. We knew the Championship was ruthless, but we've seen it in 11 games already. You will get punished. I think, like we said, Stoke didn't offer particularly much. Yes, they had some good chances. They had a couple of good chances, but they weren't great. They weren't great, and it was disappointing to lose that. I think trying to pick some. Go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, just trying to pick some positives out of it. Obviously, I thought Kakachi, the fact that he was back involved, was brilliant, and when he came on, he did look. He looked very good, albeit a little bit off the pace, which is just to be expected given the amount of football he's missed. But if we can keep him fit, I think we've talked to death about wing backs and the importance of our wing backs in this system that Parky plays, whichever variation it is. And I think we're all kind of universally agreed that Kabore, although he can be a bit hot and cold, generally is the brilliant right option. I think Kakachi, keeping him fit, I think he's going to be crucial for us this season.
Key. Yeah, definitely. Well, there was little else for Wrexham fans to cheer, and this was compounded on 36 minutes. And Daz, I want to get your take on this one. Doyle gave away a needless corner rather than clear the ball. downfield. He completely spooned it and it went behind and out for a corner. Now, the corner was right in front of me, so I saw literally probably about 15 feet away from me because I was sitting about 4 rows from the front. Sorba Thomas came over to take the corner and was booed by a section of the Wrexham fans. Not all of them, not me, but a certain section of the Wrexham fans were booing him, which you could see on his face he was not happy about, because he's kind of saying, really? You know, last week you were cheering for me when I put in that ball for the first goal against Belgium, but now you boo me. Anyway, he obviously then puts the corner in, gets cleared out, goes back to him on the wing. There's no way this is a shot. He crosses it in. The defence completely messes it up. It goes past 3 defenders, underneath Kiefer Moore's foot, past the Okonkwo and into the goal. Cue then celebrations by Sorba, which I understand it, because obviously he wants to make a statement based on the fact he'd just been booed. And, you know, he's perfectly within his rights. And if it was a Wrexham play, if it was the other way around, absolutely, I'd be kind of saying that's fine. But I did think it was a little bit over the top, because he just didn't do it once. He did a walk, and then he was pointing at the Wrexham fans. And
it reminded me of, you know, when you used to play FIFA and after you scored a goal, you used to constantly keep doing the celebrations just to wind your opponent up. It was like that. It's like he kept pressing the button to go back and do another celebration.
And it did wind the Wrexham fans up, because they definitely were much more upset after that. In the end of the day, he's still a Wales player. He still plays for Cymru, and you know, when he puts the Cymru shirt on, we'll support him. Whatever. I mean, Daz, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, at the end of the day, he's a Wales player, so why are Wrexham fans booing him? But he is also a member of the team you're playing against. It was all a little bit weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've just quickly looked it up and seen the celebrations, and it looks like some sort of duck walk as well as he's doing it. I mean, he's doing all the sort of gestures.
He does the face. He's pointing to the Wrexham fans,
and admittedly, he's doing it to the fans specifically right next to the Stoke fans. You know, I mean, it's, you know, so he's turning to his own fans, but the Wrexham fans are just there. So he's got the platform for both. To answer your question, I know a lot of club fans who aren't international fans, and so when you said, are they the 1 week they're supporting him and 1 week they're not, I dare say, and you guys might know better from being on the terraces up there. I certainly know in Cardiff it's the case, and I certainly know in some of the sort of smaller clubs like in sort of Newports or Merthyr or something like that. You know, there's quite a few who do not support the national side. It's all about the club. So so there's a good chance that a lot of them booing him don't care. I get your point. I'm a big fan of always seeing opponents of any players that are in the opposing team that are Welsh players. I love to see them play. I don't want them necessarily to achieve anything necessarily against my team. You know, so if Harry Wilson plays for Fulham against Liverpool, I don't want him scoring a brilliant left-footed curling shot in the top corner. Keep those for playing against Chelsea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's for me, that's how I feel about it.
But you wouldn't boo him, would you?
I wouldn't boo him. No. But that's because I'm a Welsh international fan as much as anything else. Whereas,
I mean, people are entitled to boo. That's not the issue here. It just seems a little bit odd. They didn't boo anybody else. They didn't boo any of the other Stoke players.
But isn't there a connection to the fact that he nearly was he being touted to play for Wrexham at any point?
No, he was. I mean, his name was mentioned alongside practically every other Championship player that there was. There was never anything close. It's just some strange, small-minded, small group of people who, for some reason, have got an issue with the fact that a Welsh player is playing for a team against Wrexham. That's why they're booing. It makes no sense at all. But
we'll talk about the Oxford game in a minute. But they didn't boo Mark Harris last night. And he's a Welsh international.
In that case, then I can't tell you. But all I would say about it is that you can't give it out and not take it. Yeah. And you can't have it both ways. You can't expect to give it out and then the player not to bite back. You know, we lord over James McLean. I mean, granted, some of the shit he gets is way over the line. But you know, when he gets dogs abuse from away fans and then scores and retaliates in front of them and celebrates in front of them, we applaud that and we're behind him. Yeah, you know, get in. So you can't give it out and not take it. So
I think you're absolutely spot on there. But I think you've got to be careful with the, like, McLean has views which are made public and then people can disagree with them. I don't know what Sorba's views are that people are disagreeing with, whether or not he had the opportunity to sign for Wrexham and chose not to. You know, yes, it could all be rumour, and so that portion of the fan base, I'm thinking, thing that you're referring to, though, probably knows it's a rumor and not no substance in it. So it seems odd that they would then choose to do that. But I'm gonna simplify it to the fans started it by the sounds of things. I hold nothing there for Sorba in terms of his reaction.
As I say, I could see Sorba's face because he was 15 feet in front of me, and when and it wasn't a huge amount, just a small smattering of Wrexham fans booing, you could see from his face that he was a little bit annoyed, a little bit.
But in gamesmanship against your opponents, I mean, for a lot of those Wrexham fans, they probably carried on doing it because they knew they were getting a reaction. So on Sorba's point of there, he needs to make it look like why bother because it's not getting to me.
Well, he had the perfect answer in the end, didn't he, by scoring the goal? So
yeah. And did he? I mean, did he score a goal? Yeah. I mean, he put the ball into the box
exactly.
And a goal resulted. So fair play.
I mean, second half, Stoke had a couple of chances, including hitting the crossbar on 67 minutes and forcing a Conquo into some important saves, but Wrexham never looked a threat, and often hurried passes, overhit balls. There was definitely a kind of a feel that they were rushing things. I mean, Jamie, they just had the international break, so you can't say that they were tired.
I was just going to say that exact same thing. That was probably the biggest shock for me of the performance, was the fact that you've got to remember that, yes, we're in a fortunate position now where a selection of our squad do go away to do international football, but the bulk of the squad stays behind. So they'll get time off. I'm sure they get some time off to rest and recuperate, spend time with their families. But that also means that they get extra time training. And okay, we've said before about how important or how integral Kiefer Moore is to the way we play. He's not there. You can't really replace him, but you can still practice and train and go through drills of lots of other stuff. But the fact they've had that 2-week break, I agree with you. It's really surprising, and this is the second time now, because I think after the last international break, the first game back after the international game break, we looked a little bit off it in that first game. I don't know, maybe the squad and the team is very much momentum driven, and these international breaks are actually hurting us more than we're maybe given credit for.
It's highly possible. Parky did throw the kitchen sink on by taking off a defender and putting Sam Smith alongside Windass and Moore, but he did it with 7 minutes left. I mean, what Daz? What's the point? 7 minutes is not really enough time, is it?
I'm glad you asked him and not me, because I was thinking, thanks for setting me up with that.
I'll ask you in a minute if you want. But
I mean, what's the point? I mean, I suppose if he absolutely had faith that the team were the best option you had, and they were making some inroads, and the disruption that substitutions can make are often positive in many ways. Obviously, it improves. It gets fit. You get energy back in. Everybody's a bit more energized and fresh legs. But the disruption sometimes is too often is sort of immeasurable. How disruptive getting a substitute in, trying to move everybody back into new positions, or whatever that tactic change might be. And actually, substitutions don't always work. And I've seen plenty of teams kind of hold on to their best team that seem to be gelling, seem to be playing well. I mean, it sounds to me like, though, from your description, there were no indicators of that. And so why not go earlier? I don't know what the state of your bench is. I don't know what kind of quality you had on the bench, but the names you just read out, given more than 7 minutes, I would have thought for sure.
And now it's time for the away day footy scran review.
So another Saturday and another away day footy scran review. And obviously we're at Stoke this week. And this week, after the very massive disappointment of Wobbly Stadium, I've pushed the boat out. So today we've got a £1/2 double cheese bacon burger with onions. £8.50, much more worth it. So I'm going to scoff this down and I'll tell you what it's like in a minute. So what did we make of the £1/2 bacon cheeseburger? A world away from Wobbly Stadium. London, take note. Bun was great, fresh. Burgers were cooked to perfection. The double cheese was a masterstroke because that really added a bit of gooiness to it. Bacon was perfect, absolutely perfect, and the onions were boiling hot. £8.50 is still expensive, but you've got to put it in context with regards to how much you're going to pay at a football ground. So 8 out of 10 Friars for this one. Absolute belter. Well done, Stoke. Yeah, brilliant. It's just a shame the fan zone, and I say fan zone, it's more like a car park outside the stand. Has got a bit more atmosphere, really, but there you go. You can't have everything, can you? Anyway, up the town.
That did look good.
Can I just say,
not for my arteries, it wasn't, but it's great.
Can I just say, if your cardiologist is watching this, you need to apologise to him, because that clogged my arteries of just looking at it.
I tell you something.
Wow.
I mean, that was a lot of food for £8.50, and it was all good quality, cooked perfectly. It was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. As promised last week, and you know me, guys, I love a chart. We've got a chart.
Wow.
I know, we're showing this year so far how we've gone. Stoke City now moved to the top with 8 out of 10 Friars. Britain Ferry Llansamble, second is 7. Southampton with 6. I've downgraded Leicester's Pucker Pie on thinking about it to a 5 because I don't think it's worth a 6. And Wobbly Stadium, absolutely, when I thought about it and I stopped being angry, it's a 1. And it's lucky to be a 1. So, as
if you've got ex-Premier League Southampton, ex-Premier League Leicester, and the English National Stadium, Britain Ferry Llansamble above them. That is ridiculous.
I know, but it was better. The food was better. It was better, much better quality and value for money. It wasn't like amazing, but compared to those three,
I genuinely thought you were going to do oatcakes at Stoke, but given the fact you told me it was not a particularly friendly environment, I guess you didn't have.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of oatcakes. They make me feel it's like he's in the back of the cooker, innit? I'm not bothering with that. So well done, Stoke. Definitely a really, really good one. That one, really enjoyed that. So Wednesday night, bit of a change for Wrexham to do a Wednesday night under the lights, but we welcomed Oxford United to the Stoke Kairos for a midweek game. Let's look at the lineup first. 4 changes on this one. And some of the changes, a lot of the fans were after the Stoke game were saying should happen. Matty James came in for Sheaf, who apparently did have a niggly injury. Thomason in for O'Brien. Not surprised by that because O'Brien didn't have a fantastic game against Stoke. Kakachi in for Longman. I mean, as you said, Jamie, if he's fit, you put him in because he is much more refreshing on that side. And Broadhead in for Windass. Again, lots of fans were saying, why aren't we starting Broadhead? Because when he came on in the Stoke game with those few minutes to go, he was much more busy and whatever. Jamie, obviously Doyle's still in there instead of Brunt, but happy with the changes that you saw for the 4 changes? Yeah,
I think they all made sense. Kakachi coming back in is like I said in the last game is great that he's back in, and again I think he had a really good game, or certainly a good first half against Oxford. Broadhead coming in for Windass, whilst I understand it's a tough one for Parky because Windass is like Broadhead 2 sort of mark signings, but Windass has been off it in the last couple of games, so bringing and Broadhead's been very much revving up his form, so absolutely the right call there. A little bit of a concern to hear that Sheaf, and did I hear a whisper about
Rathbone and Nigel as well, which
is a bit of a concern. Given that he's been away for so long.
Parky post-match didn't seem to think it was serious. He said, he basically said, Sheaf said if it was the last game of the season, he'd have played with it. So he doesn't seem to think it's...
I mean,
they're going to assess it. They will assess it more today, apparently, but he didn't feel it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the Sheaf one is the one for me, because I obviously when we signed him, we talked about it, and he came with that little asterisk, didn't he? Which is the fact that for the last 18 months, 2 years, he has really struggled to stay fit, and we've seen how good of a player he can be, I think, but he needs consistency and he needs a run of games to get that form up to a consistent level. And if he's constantly being dragged down with injuries, that's not going to be great. Like you say, Matty James, I know there are some fans that are not a huge fan of him. I think at times there are times that I think he gets caught out. I think is the stage of his career that he's at. He gets caught out a little bit, but you can't deny the footballing brain the man has got. He can do things with the football that a lot of other players can't do. And then obviously Thomason coming in for O'Brien again makes sense. You've got to rotate your squad. You've got a lot of games coming up in the next few weeks. O'Brien is all action, isn't he? And he has been. Generally, he's been really, really good since the start of the season. But he is all action, so it must be a tiring. No matter how fit you are, it must be tiring because he literally covers every blade of grass every game he plays. And again, by all accounts, from the whole game, I think Thomason played quite well last night. So all good.
Well, a much better display from Wrexham in a game of definitely two halves, I would say. First half, Wrexham were dominant, pinning Oxford back, stifling the very little threat from them, and they weren't good in that first half at all. They were absolutely dominating. And you were saying earlier, Jerry, about the importance of wing backs, and the wing backs for Wrexham absolutely dominated that first half and caused them nothing but trouble. 14th minute, corner from the right to the far side of the box, volley from Moore. I'm not sure whether he was trying to shoot on target, but he didn't because the volley went straight across the box to Broadhead, who shot at the goal. I thought it's not gone in. Luckily, we have goal line technology now, and they proved
that's £250,000 we've ever spent.
Absolutely for that goal. I mean, the only worry really, Daz, for me, was that we didn't convert more of the chances in that first half. And again, is this something that Wrexham need to look at quite severely? Because as we said earlier, you've got to take your chances.
Yes, I mean, obviously there's a pattern to what we're talking about, but I mean, I watched a little bit of this one because I was intrigued by the back pass, indirect. No, in about the 6th or 7th minute, wasn't it? It was something like an indirect free kick from within the box. I mean, literally, it's about, I don't know, 12 yards out. I think it's just to one side, so it's almost like a penalty, but with everybody in the goal stopping you.
Yes.
Simon and I were talking about that before we started. I'm seeing as though you are our referee correspondent. I asked Simon the question about. I was a bit when I saw it. I was a bit surprised that the fact that the back pass was on target, and if he hadn't have stopped it, it'd have been a goal. I was a little bit surprised that there wasn't any further punishment, whether that was a booking or a sending off, but Simon was saying that the indirect free kick is all you would get. Is that there is no caveat
as far as I'm aware? Yeah, you credit me with too much knowledge of the game sometimes. but as I understand it, I mean, I think because it was an intentional pass. If it had been a deflection, if the pass had been intended to go to somewhere else and he intercepts it, then that's not the back pass. But the fact that it was clearly passed back to the goalkeeper. Keeper's not going to get it to stop it from going past him unless he stretches out. So there was so therefore there was a back pass. But yeah, I mean those kind of free kicks though they're almost pointless when it's such a luck of the draw.
It was. And
I thought there was a second phase of it where I thought it might have gone in, but no, it was entertaining to watch.
I mean, they were lined up like a can line. You've got no. I mean, even just for me again, it's frustrating because for me they had all these players off out to their left hand side, and you're kind of thinking, well, square the ball to at least try and create some space. But no, they just hit it straight at a wall of 10 players. It's like, well, that's a bit.
But no, I mean, I think that was part of a passage of play where there's clearly a good amount of pressure, and you've this is not the strongest of teams in your division, and you need to make more success of those shots really, and getting them on target was the first thing because your stats previously have been a little bit. I'm not say borderline disappointing, I suppose. You've got all this attacking power now in terms of Broadhead and your Keepers and things like that. You think you get better, so that's improved because your stats are showing there now. 11 shots, so that's great, and 6 of them are on target. So I don't know what is the bit that they're missing that takes that 6 into more goals, because you're getting them on target, which is always the golden rule of of striking. Was the goalkeeper exceptionally good? Were there last ditch?
He was. I mean, he looked about 12, but he was. I thought he was. I thought he made some great saves. To be fair to him, he absolutely made some superb saves.
So sometimes it's on the day that those 11, could have produced at least 2, maybe 3 goals. But a return of 1 from 11, you're probably a little bit disappointed in that. 1 from 6 on target, a little bit more maybe.
Well, second half, Oxford were much more aggressive and pressing, putting us under pressure that we were handling pretty well, and everything seemed to be going along fine. And then 67 minutes, Doyle decided to make it a sliding tackle in, hit the player a bit late, took the man, and was shown a straight red card. First player to be sent off for Wrexham since April 2024, which is quite interesting. And actually, up to Sunday, we had the best disciplinary record in the whole of the EFL up to that point. So, yeah, amazing. I'll ask the both of you. Jamie first. Red card, yes, or yellow card and poor refereeing?
No, I think, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch this whole game, so I've had to pick this up from extended highlights and just reports I've read and sort of fan chatter online. One thing that was very evident when I was scrolling through Twitter was that the referee was criticised heavily for his performance, and I did pick up on a couple of things from even in the highlights that looked odd decisions. Not for me. It wasn't a red card. It was yes, it was a lunge. Yes, he didn't get the ball, but my personal opinion is I don't think it was a red card. I think it was a yellow. It was a stern yellow. Not a red for me.
I mean, it was his first foul. Literally his first foul, and he got red card straight away. I mean, Daz, I think, feels that it was a red by the looks of it.
No. I disagree with. It doesn't matter if it's a first foul. I don't buy into the referees need to have time to warm up or anything. It's if the tackle is that bad, it's red. If it's not, it's not. I wondered if this was sitting in the orange card category where it's. I think what makes it look particularly bad is the speed he's going at.
Yeah.
And so he's flying through, and it does look particularly bad. But when once it's slowed down, you can see there's minimal contact.
Yeah,
if anything.
as hard as it is to try and be balanced to referees, we do have to try and be fair. 'Cause we've said it before; it's a horrible job. They get one look at this. They get one look at these incidents. And from one perspective as well, and are expected to get it right all the time. If fans are to be listened to, Daz is absolutely spot on. I was just going to say the same thing. I think what did him in was the speed in which he flew across the space from when he went off his feet to make the tackle. I think that's what's done him. I feel a little bit for Doyle though, to be honest with you, because I think he's come in. He is an unbelievable player. We've seen that in his loans that he's had at different clubs, and I'm still convinced that long term he'll be a fantastic signing. But I do feel for him a little bit because he's had a tough start to his Wrexham career. He's had moments in games where he's been good, but he's been maybe criticised is the wrong word, but I don't think fans have been overly taken by him to date. And then particularly when Brunt came in for those couple of games and played really well, I think there's also a little bit of a support for Brunt, being in the side. So obviously Doyle getting a red card is going to open that door for Brunt to come back in.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous play, straight red. So I think that's 3 games unless they try and appeal it. But I'm pretty sure.
It's not going to do Doyle's confidence any good. Although I did see a very funny, albeit bit harsh, but very funny, meme on Twitter where Scooby-Doo, where they pull the mask off the enemy, and they pulled it off, and it was Callum Doyle's face to start with. They pulled it off, and it was Will Boyle underneath. It did make me laugh. Harsh, but it did make me laugh.
Yes, it was absolutely well. With obviously Wrexham then went down to 10 men for 25 minutes. Parky threw on Scar and Brunt to shore up the defence, which was quite a nice touch because that meant he moved Max over to basically to be right wing back, which we've seen him play that once before. But actually, Jamie, I don't know about you, but I thought Max did okay in that position.
Again, only from being able to pick up on the highlights, but there was one move, I think it was towards the end of the game, like you say, when we'd gone down to 10 men, the game's getting massively stretched because Oxford are pushing forward, trying to get the equaliser, so it was leaving space for us. But there was a chance for Smith towards the end of the game, which was created by Max. And at first, I did think, when I watched the highlights, I did think, Jesus Christ, what's Max doing there? But then I realised, when I look back at the changes that had made, I realised what he'd done and the position he was playing. I think maybe that's something that I'm not sure I want to necessarily use it often, because I think Max is a very, very solid right side of the three centre backs. But it's potentially an option which if we ever need it is there. Is there because Max is very capable. He's got a brilliant engine on him to get up and down the pitch. We know he can defend. We know he's good going forward. He scored lots of goals. He's had lots of assists. He's bloody good on the ball. He can ping diagonal passes. And he's not slow either. So he has got all the makings of being a great right wing back. So, potentially as an option, if we ever needed it, it's one that I could see, Parky using, because if we, fill the space in the back three with another central defender, happy days. But, it was just nice to see that we did still create a couple of chances after going down to 10 men as well. I think Smith's done himself no harm at all.
Absolutely.
I think as much as I've said and I stand by, I think Kiefer Moore is integral to the way Parky sets his team up. He has been very ineffective. You have to be honest and say he's been very ineffective in recent games. And I think if you're Smith, and obviously Christ, I know Hardy was back on the bench for this, but he's been a bit of an enigma, hasn't he? He's disappeared for the last few games. But if you're Smith in particular, you've got to be knocking on the door saying, look, when am I going to get a chance? Because you can't keep picking a player indefinitely. There comes a point where you have to say, right, okay, maybe it's time for you to just have a rest. You go on the bench and let's bring somebody else in and try, because Smith looks like he's chomping at the bit. And I think because we've got a little bit more creativity in the team now, and we're not, it's not just lumping the ball forward. I think Smith can be brought into the game a little bit better than maybe if you think 12 months ago when we were still in League One and we were very, very dependent on the ball was just hit forward quite a lot or from the wings quite a lot, whereas we do now. There are passages during the game where we play the ball through the phases because we've got more technically capable players, and I think if we can get the ball into Smith in the channels or to his feet rather than up in the air, then I think he can be successful. I think he can score goals at this level, but he's obviously going to need to run the games. So.
Absolutely. Well, Oxford obviously threw on a lot of attackers to try and wear us down, and there were some moments where they had some chances. Lancashire, who, again, one of the many names on the list that Wrexham were looking at in the summer, who's on loan from Tottenham Hotspur for Oxford, he had the closest chance for Oxford by heading from the free kick directly after Doyle was sent off and onto the crossbar, and my heart was in my mouth at that point because I thought he was going to score. But apart from that, really, Oxford had very little, even though they put on about 17 attackers at one point, I think. Wrexham managed to hang on, obviously, and get that first home win in the league. Well, with the Oxford game, that means Wrexham have now played 11 games in this first EFL Championship season since the 1980s. People say that you should play 10 games before you kind of make any judgments with regards to how you're doing in the league. So I thought it was a good chance for us to have a look at the current EFL league as it stands at the end of the Oxford game. We've played 11 games. We've won 3, drawn 4, lost 4. Goal difference of -1, 13 points, puts us nicely in 15th. As Jamie's tag says, we are, this week at least, officially the best team in Wales, thanks to the fact is that we're beating Swansea on, I don't know what it is, I don't know what we're beating them on, it must be goals scored. That's the only thing I can think of, or goals, because it's not goals conceded, because it can't be that. So I don't know how on earth we're above Swansea, but I'll take it, I'll take it.
Less inbred?
Yes, that's right, yeah, we don't shag our sisters. So, Jamie, 11 games in, with those stats, happy with how we are so far? Where you expected us to be at this point? Disappointed, or do you think we're overachieving?
Well, on the plus side, it's not as if we've got Coventry and Middlesbrough in our next 2 games. No. Hey, look, am we happy? Ecstatic. Because, look, we obviously come on here every week and we analyse the games. Well, maybe analyse is too strong of a word. We chat briefly about the games. But I know, to be fair, I speaking from a personal perspective, have been times this season where I've been critical of certain performances that we've put in, and that's only because I think it's just a frustration, because I think we're capable of more. But I think if you detach yourself from individual performances and you step back to the start of the season, you step back and you think about things like the overhaul of the playing squad and how massive that was, and take everything else into account, the level of wit that we've gone to now, the quality in this league is ridiculous. Even poor teams that like we said before, that there are no kind of poor teams. Anyone can beat anyone in this league. And I think what will stay consistent through the whole season is there won't be an awful big gap between playoffs and the bottom three. That chunk in the middle. Yes, maybe the top two might pull away, as the season goes on. But I think what you'll find is that between playoffs and the bottom three, there won't be an awful lot of points, and you can make a move up or down, in a very quick space time. From my point of view, I think if I detach the kind of emotion of individual performances and look at it, 10, 11 games in, how can you not be ecstatic with that as a position? We're mid-table. We're in mid-table. Yes, there are things we've got to look at improving and getting better with. We've got to be, like we've said quite a few times, we've got to be more clinical. We've got to start creating, taking chances more clinically. But I think we are only 11 games in, and going back to what I said a minute ago, a complete squad overhaul. These players are still getting used to playing together. Yes, I know they're training every day and they've played 11 games together, but with injuries and suspensions, you always get in fluctuations. So there's not been a huge amount of consistency, internationals and all that jazz. So, we are still at a very early phase. So the fact that we are, we're 15th, we're a good, we're comfortably a good few places above relegation, and we're not a million miles away from playoffs. How you can not be happy with that as a position? And apart from anything else, the fact that we are, at least for this week, we are now the best team in Wales, then how can you not be happy with it?
I was going to say that the key thing, though, if you're looking at those little blocks of colour, is that you've only got one defeat in the last 5. I think what's really fascinating to watch from the outside, and you've got to be proud of the team in that sense, is that you appear to be quite hard to beat. You've got to go like at least Leicester or Queen's Park Rangers to see somebody who's got only one defeat in the last 5 or 6, whatever.
Charlton are doing well, which is a bit gutty.
Yeah. But
they've done the right thing, haven't they? They've obviously recruited really, really well. They've not spent a huge amount of money. Nathan Jones obviously has, he's an experienced manager at this level, and he's bringing that experience to bear, hasn't it?
But if you look at all the teams that are around you, whether it's Swansea or Portsmouth or Southampton and stuff, they've all got a couple of defeats. You're proving to be quite difficult to beat. I mean, you're not in the Norwich, Blackburn, Sheffield sort of category where you've got 3 or 4 defeats in a row. But it just shows you how quickly that can turn. You look at the top, Coventry, Middlesbrough, they've got wins in a row, and it's clear that the league will get stretched now, and it'll hold some sort of shape, not too dissimilar to this. But how many teams are between 11th and 17th? 2 wins, and you're going from 19th position to 9th or 8th or something. So it's like Jamie said, it's so tight. But I just think being difficult to beat, I think those 3 draws that you've got there are you could argue we were lucky to get the draws. You might argue we were unlucky to get the wins. They're fine lines. So whilst you're in this situation, I still think that's excellent, considering who'd have said you'd have been ahead of Southampton or a team
Norwich
or not. These are teams that should be doing better.
I mean, I was going to say, we know how volatile the championship is. And if you look at our position, 5 points gets us into the playoffs. 5 points also gets us into the relegation zone. I mean, that's how close it is. And as you just said, you have big hitters down there like Southampton, like Norwich. Blackburn Rovers were tipped at the beginning of the season to actually be in the playoffs. And they, they've been terrible. I mean, Jamie, is it an advantage not wishing to pile any more woe on Sheffield Wednesday, but it now looks like they're probably going to get a points deduction, because of the fact is that the HMRC are probably putting a wind-up order on them, which means they'll go into administration, and that'll be 10 or 12 points, which means they'll be done. They won't be out of there. So that means we're now only trying to avoid 2 places. Does that give us a better chance from that point of view, or is this something we should be just looking to do the best that we can?
I understand the question, but I honestly don't think, and this is not being arrogant, but I honestly don't think relegation is something that we need to worry about. You know, I from what I've seen, yes, like I've said before, there have been frustrating games that we've had, frustrating games we've drawn, frustrating games we've lost. You know, games where even like you look at the Oxford game last night where we've won it, but you like you said yourself, the reality is we probably should have scored more than one goal in that first half. So there are frustrations, but barring some sort of catastrophe, I've seen enough from in these 11 games, I've seen enough from this Wrexham team to suggest that as the season goes on, and if we can avoid catastrophic injuries and suspensions, I've seen enough from these first 11 games to give me confidence that whilst I still think we are going to be mid-table finish, I'm more confident that if we are going to be battling at the end of the season for anything significant, I would say I'm more confident that it's more likely to be towards the playoff side of things than it is worrying about relegation. And that, like I say, it's not me being arrogant or anything like that, but I guess for all the teams that are down at the bottom, yes, Sheffield Wednesday's situation is continues to be a travesty. I mean, I don't know if you saw the game, was it last night or the night before, where obviously the fans are boycotting it now, and it's like literally just handfuls of fans. It's like a training game.
I was thinking about this because obviously we've still got to go to Hillsborough, and I think they're talking about charging 42 quid. And I'm thinking, look, I want to support Wrexham, but I'd rather take 42 quid and go and put it in the supporters trust tin and not go.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a few conversations online about that. I think
it's terrible that what he's doing, and he just needs to sell up. Yeah, we could get into that whole load. I just don't.
Yeah, no. But I think all I was going to say was as much as it's horrible for Sheffield Wednesday, I think, like you said, what it does mean for those teams, whoever those teams may be, and we may be one of them. I may be completely wrong, and we may end up in a situation where we struggle to as the season goes on, and we are down there as one of those teams fighting to avoid relegation. But whoever those teams are that are involved, it does offer, for this season, it does potentially offer a slight level of comfort that you are, if you're one of 6 teams that are battling down there, there are only 2 places really, additional places that are going to get relegated because one of them is already taken up by Sheffield Wednesday. But yeah, like I say, from my point of view, I'm confident at this stage of the season. I'm confident that we're not going to be worrying about relegation conversations.
Now on the Emo Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy had 2 games this week. The first was on Saturday as they hosted Mansfield Town Youth in the EFL Youth Alliance Cup and lost 2-1. Wrexham's goal, a penalty by Sammy Chesworth in the 92nd minute. However, Damon Almeida was sent off for a straight red on 85 minutes. Then on Tuesday, they were away at Shrewsbury Town Under-17s in the last group game of the Under-17s Professional Development League Cup and lost 4-1. Wrexham's goal from Carrick Murphy on 92 minutes. It now looks very difficult for Wrexham to progress in this competition, as they would be probably bottom of the group. Next game is back in the league this Saturday, 25th of October, at home to Chesterfield Under-18s, with Wrexham currently 6th in the league, 6 points off the top. Jamie, we'll talk about the new staff appointments in a second, but that's out of 2 competitions in 1 week, no win in 7 games. It's amazing how quickly this has turned around, because we were talking not so long ago about the fact is that Wrexham kept winning. Wrexham Academy kept winning, and now no wins in 7 out of 2 competitions in 1 week, 6th in the league. Is this due to the fact that they have had these kind of key positions within the academy missing?
It's a really, really difficult question to answer, isn't it? Because like we said before, we've got very, very limited kind of insight into these games. They're not televised. They're not. They're not available to see anywhere. So, fundamentally, all we really know about it is kind of what we read from these, final match reports, which are nothing more really than just who scored, who played, and that's it. I don't know, because you can't imagine that all the other teams in the league have suddenly taken on whole new rafts of amazing players that make them considerably better. But like you say, there's something, because it seems odd that we've gone from pretty much winning every week to now pretty much losing every week. So you would have to say, based on the limited information that we've got, you would have to say that the issue potentially points to all the kind of off the field and staffing changes and issues in and around the academy that have been going on. So if that is the cause of it, if that is having any influence on the players and therefore the performances on the pitch and the results, then the sooner the better they can get everything sorted out for everyone, because the last thing you want is for this to continue. It's not going to be good for anybody.
Well, there were two significant appointments announced behind the scenes at the club this week. Mark Swales has been appointed the Director of Women's Football, joining from the English FA. Swales is a vastly experienced individual in women's football who brings more than 20 years of experience in elite football, coach development and education to North Wales. He most recently served as Senior Women's Coach Development Lead at the English FA, playing a key role in the development of coaches across WSL and the Women's Championship, mentoring top-flight managers at the highest levels at the women's game. Previously, he was technical director of Chelsea Women's Academy. He played a key role in supporting the development of building a world-leading program for young female players of the club. He has also held several senior development and leadership roles across the course of his career. Upon joining Wrexham, he will be responsible for ensuring the long-term success of Wrexham AFC Women, alongside developing the club's FAW Academy, with the aim of creating a sustainable pathway to nurture North Wales' finest prospects. Also joined is Gus Williams from the FAW, has joined as Wrexham's new men's academy manager. Gus is a UEFA Pro license holder with a huge amount of experience of talent spotting and developing Welsh talent from the Football Association of Wales. Daz, Mark Swales first. I think this is a fantastic appointment. I mean, this guy has done so much in the English FA for women's football, for both development, talent recognition, but also the contacts that he's got. He knows Jenny really well. He said at the pre-match yesterday they've already brought in a new conditioning coach and a new analyst for the women. So he's obviously already kind of reaching out and pulling in talent. I mean, again, this just for me reinforces why getting people like Jenny and him is just going to be nothing but beneficial, not just for Wrexham Women, but for Welsh women's football in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real marker from the point of the ownership about how seriously they're taking the women's game, and the investment and the caliber that they're looking at. Like you said, we're talking about the most successful, arguably at the moment, league, football association in the world is currently the English one. Their hold on the best league in the world is pretty much there now in the Women's Super League, and success in major tournaments. So anybody coming from that background and recognizing what that FA has been able to do for the women's game, surely that's lessons learned that we can tap into. So bugs us that it's our rivals, our neighbors, but it's right on our doorstep. You've got to make the most of this. So the idea that you can tempt these relative, kind of big names, big guns to come over and join our little league, regardless of the size of the club. I don't want to belittle Wrexham's sort of intentions here, but it's a little old league, so it's a fascinating sort of step up in commitment, finances, genuine intent, and it'll be interesting to see what the likes of Cardiff and Swansea and probably TNS are the only ones that can probably match that in terms of club resources.
And Jamie, as we were just saying about the academy, Gus Williams brings with him a huge amount of kind of talent development. He developed a lot of the young players who've come through to the Cymru national side. I mean, hopefully now this will be somebody at the helm who will be able to steer the academy in the right direction. Fingers crossed.
You'd hope so. I mean, like you guys have said, I think with the best one in the world, I don't know who these guys are. I don't really know their background. So you base your kind of assessment on the appointments on their CV and their credentials. And again, you have to say that on paper, these are two very, very high quality, additions. Like you said, you would hope that the experience, particularly on like the academy youth side, you'd hope the previous experience that he's had and what he's achieved previously will bear fruit for us as a football club. But likewise with the guy on the women's side as well. One thing I was going to ask you about the appointment of the chap on the women's side of things. What did you say the position was? What's his position?
Director of women's football.
What does that mean for Gemma then? Where does
Gemma is head of women's administration, so basically she does the day-to-day running of the women's section, whereas Mark looks more at the development and the direction, more like a director. Exactly, a director.
Yeah, no, I know in the past, obviously from the last few years, obviously she's been having to spin loads of different plates, hasn't she? So I was just curious when I saw this announcement. I was curious where that fitted in with her role, but that makes sense. But no, like I say, I don't know a great deal about these guys, but on paper, and if you look at their background, their CVs, top draw appointments. I'm sure they're not cheap appointments, but it's not, obviously I'm not paying the bill, so
exactly. While we've been on air, there's been the draw for the first round of the Bute Energy Women's FA Cup, following completion of the qualifying rounds. And Wrexham Women in the north section of the draw have been drawn to play NFA FC from Rill away, with the tie to be played on Sunday, the 23rd of November. NFA FC are in the Adran North, and I was just trying to look at... Northwest, I think. Yeah, I was just trying to look at where they are in the table, but I couldn't.
Mid-table.
Mid-table. Okay, fair enough. I mean, Daz, first round of the cup. We weren't gonna pull any of the big guys. I was looking at the draw: Cardiff City versus Cardiff Met. That's a massive one. Yeah. I don't know who Abba's draw.
We got a big one. We got Swansea.
Okay, yes.
So there's a couple of big ones in that sense, Penabont and Barry and stuff like that. There's some teams that are sort of like for like, but I think yes, there's in the north, because of course it's split into north and south. I think Wrexham did well to avoid any of the other sort of big names, Lance Fried, TNS, whatever. But I mean, I suppose the only thing you didn't want really was an away game. You don't the classic, the away pitch being a bit of a leveler. Your silky style of football at the moment would suit some decent pitches. I have no idea what pitch they play on.
Haven't
NFA.
Got a clue what. And I'll have to do some research on NFA, because I haven't got a clue what pitch they play. I mean, they're a new club. Forest Derwin. So Derwin Road.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a road with jumpers for goalposts, by the sounds of it.
Derwin means oak, which means it could be just two oak trees at one end of the field, for all you know. I mean, you just don't know what kind of state their pitches will be, but you'd like to think you've got the quality to be able to get past a team that's a couple of divisions, below. I think the Cardiff City Cardiff Met game, that Met would have not liked to have seen that one, but I think out of the big guns playing against each other, it's us. I think we're the biggest tie of the draw, really. Aberystwyth against Swansea. There's two Premier teams against each other. The other notable fixture is Pontypridd United. They're playing Pontypridd Town. The
ultras will be out for that one.
Yeah, absolutely, that'll be tasty, to say the least. That'll be tasty. And Wrexham Foresters have got Flint, so Wrexham Foresters are the grassroots side. I was really hoping that Wrexham would play Wrexham Foresters, because that would be a nice little derby. But Flint, again, local tie, so it's good for them. I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, I would say all these games we played Sunday, 22nd of November, so not that far away. And then obviously once we get through this, you would expect kind of the Adran Premier sides probably to get through, and then when we get to the last 8, it's all the gloves are off from that point of view. It's hot, it's steamy, it's not Jamie's bath time. It's time for the chip shop. A bumper menu this week, so let's crack the whip at Jamie and Daz and crack on. Let's look at last week's predictions. Somebody is going to have a big smile on his face. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be Jamie. It's going to be Daz, because Daz, by predicting the correct Stoke result, gets that extra point, finally moves to the top of the table where we're very bored of seeing him. But obviously that means Jamie is in 12th and I'm a little bit cut adrift in 3rd.
Hey, look, bro, at least with Sheffield Wednesday guaranteed relegation, you won't be relegated. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah. Luckily there is no relegation, otherwise I would be, goodness knows where I'd be. So, first into the fryer tonight, it's Australia Women. Australia Women, Saturday 25th of October, kick-off 2 p.m. BST at the Cardiff City Stadium. A friendly game, the first game for Cymru Women since competing in the Euros in the summer. Rhian Wilkinson has rung the changes, bringing in a host of new caps for this game. Plus, this will also be the last time we will see the legend that is Jess Fishlock in a Cymru shirt. The Matildas are currently 15th in the world and are a powerhouse in terms of world women's football. They have been in every FIFA World Cup tournament since 1995. They've qualified for everyone. They're also OFC Women's Nations Cup champions 3 times and AFC Women's Asian Cup champions once. So far this year, they've played 11, won 6, drawn 1, lost 4. They've got many players from the English WSL, including Steph Catley and Caitlin Ford from Arsenal, and the most famous all, Sam Kerr from Chelsea. And the chips are done. So, Daz, quite a test this for Cymru Women. You know, the first game they played, they're taking on a team which are very, very good. I watched the Matildas in the World Cup, the last World Cup, and they are formidable. I mean, what do you think Rhian Wilkinson is going to try and get out of this game?
It is an interesting one, because after such a period of defeats in a row now, because that's what happens when you go to a major tournament and you're outranked and you're outplayed, and we're absolutely shown where the Welsh national team are at the moment in terms of world stage. You'd have thought she might have gone for a softer opponent to try and build up confidence, just break the duck of the kind of those kind of results, but no, there you go, straight in somebody, a team that's is competing consistently at the highest level. I guess their competition in their part of the world, you can argue, is the depth, is perhaps not there, but they've also played some friendlies against South Korea, but Argentina, Slovenia. In fact, Slovenia and Panama have tested them the most in recent games. So it's a difficult one to predict, really, because like for like, but they do compete. They do get to major tournaments. We don't, but that's because we're playing in a European league that is clearly one of the toughest to qualify. The same that the men have had for historically. European countries tend to do much better. So what was she hoping to get it from it? I think referring back to a statement she made at the time, which is you want to play the top teams because you want to be able to see where you are against it. Unless you play against the best players, you don't improve. What do you learn? What do you gain in terms of quality by just playing a team that you're always expected to beat? But I don't know. You still got to do it. You still got to do the Jamie thing of playing who's in front of you. So I think that there's an argument where you said that out of the 2 games that are coming up, one could have been not a gimme, but at least a little bit of a warm up, and then perhaps play a more testing game. That said, I am kind of pleased. It feels like a competitive game for Jess's last game. I would hate for it to be a complete exhibition match against San Marino. It just wouldn't feel right. So the fact that this is a competitive game, and with a probability and or a potential, shall I say, a potential that it could end up as a defeat. That's the last thing you want on Jess's last game. But that's what they're not going for. The sympathy here. They're not going for the popularity vote. They're going, we're developing a squad here. We want to improve. We want to be ready for the next tournament. We want to be ready to qualify. Let's keep playing against top teams. So in some ways, respect, absolute. I totally enjoy that philosophy. I think the clarity in that will be dependent on what kind of team she puts out.
So, time for the salt, vinegar and sauce koch. Daz, what's your score prediction for Cymru versus Australia?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's been a while. So I have gone for a narrow Australia win on the basis that they are the higher ranked team. They are supposed to be the better team. They play consistently against quality sides. So I've gone for a 2-1 Australia win.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Cymru versus Australia?
I absolutely prepared and knew you were going to ask me about this game. So I've got it written. I've got it written down here. 3-1 to Australia.
Fair enough. And I'm predicting a Cymru 1, Australia 3. I think with 7 changes, lots of young players, and Australia being the Australia that I've seen, I think Cymru are going to struggle. I think it would be fitting. I think if Jess scored, that would be a nice sign off for it. But I think they're just going to have too much for Cymru, unfortunately, and I think it's going to be a Cymru defeat in this one.
I think it'll be interesting to see if they start her as well. So I should have said whether or not they start her and then give her the platform to be substituted off. How long she gets, because she's worked hard to keep her fitness, but I don't know how long she'll last.
No, absolutely. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next into the fryer, it's Middlesbrough. So on the same day as Cymru Women meet Australia Women, 1 hour later, at 3 p.m. BST, Wrexham travel all the way up to the northeast to take on Middlesbrough at the Riverside Stadium. Middlesbrough started in the 21st century. No, not this one. It's too far away. Middlesbrough started in the 21st century in the Premiership until being relegated in 2009. Except for one season back in the Premiership, they bounced up and down the Championship table from bottom to top and back to bottom again. Last year, they finished 10th in the Championship with 18 wins, 10 draws, 18 losses, goal difference of +8 and 64 points, 4 points off the playoffs. In the summer, Middlesbrough spent £22 million buying players like David Strelic from Bratislava for £7 million and Adilson Malanda from Charlotte in the MLS for £6.2 million. But they also sold £27.5 million worth of players, so they actually made a net profit of £5 million. They've had a fantastic start in the Championship this season, currently second in the league with 7 wins, 3 draws and only 1 loss, a goal difference of +8 and 24 points, 1 point off the top spot. Their last 5 results: a 1-1 draw away at Southampton, a 0-0 draw at home to Stoke City, a 1-0 loss away at Portsmouth, a 2-1 win at home to Ipswich Town and a 1-0 win away at Sheffield Wednesday. Wrexham and Middlesbrough have only ever met 3 times head-to-head, and only once in the league, which is in 1972. The other 2 were both in the FA Cup. The last time was in 1999 in the 3rd round, where Wrexham won 2-1. And I remember this because I went to this. Goals from Robin Gibson and Darren Ferguson. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, Middlesbrough, as you joked earlier, it's not as if we're playing the top 2. Well, unfortunately, we're playing the second Middlesbrough. I watched a bit of the Sheffield Wednesday game against Middlesbrough, and they struggled a little bit, but most teams seem to be struggling against Wednesday at the moment because Wednesday just seem to, I think they instill sympathy where players maybe don't. I don't know what it is, but a lot of players struggle. We've been fairly decent away, apart from Stoke last week. What kind of a game are you expecting with this one?
It is a tough one because I think you first and foremost you've got to look at their position in the league. And I think based on what we've said about the Championship, you're not going to be in second in this league by luck. They're there on merit. However, if you look at their form guide compared to, say, Coventry above them, which we're going to talk about in a minute, they are a little bit, they've had the last 2 wins, a loss and 2 draws. So, it's not like they're consistently smashing everybody every week. But like I said, they're there on merit. I mean, it's going to be it's another obviously great stadium to go to, isn't it? I mean, it's one that again, I've said it a million times, and there were a few stadiums that I really wanted to try and get to, but work commitments have just not allowed it. And this is one of them. I'm sure the travelling fans will have it, although it's going to be a long old trip. The non-flop reds like you that are making the journey. I'm sure they're going to have a great time because again, it's a Premier League stadium, isn't it? And I'm sure it's a mega one to witness. It'll be, I think all the clubs in that kind of northeast area of the country, they're all passionately supported, aren't they? Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Newcastle, they're all very passionate about their football.
Josh's Giants.
Yeah. So there'll be a great atmosphere, I'm sure. I've not seen a lot of Middlesbrough play, to be honest with you, so I don't really know what to expect. However, I'm off the basis of their form guide being slightly, inconsistent, and the fact that, like you just said, away from home, other than Stoke, we have looked pretty decent. Again, in phases of games, I think if you go back to like that Millwall game, okay, we won that 2-0, but I think we did gloss over a little bit how kind of fortunate we were in that game. We were lucky to come away with a 2-0 win from that game, if I'm being brutally honest. But then like Norwich, parts of that game, we were brilliant. So away from home, we have shown some good form. So, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I don't expect any team to hammer us. As such, but yeah, there'd be no bones about it. This will be a tough away day.
I forgot Biker Grove FC as well. I forgot them. So time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce call. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Middlesbrough versus Wrexham?
I can never look at a paintball gun the same way after Biker Grove. PJ Duke. I don't even know which one of them was shot, to be fair. I can't even remember. My prediction for this one. So I'm going to... I'm falling into the trap now. We're getting into the season. And Mr. 1-0 over there is going to actually... Oh, sorry, that side, yeah. Mr. 1-0 over there is going to really benefit from being able to be impartial. But I'm getting the whole head and heart problem again now. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Daz, what's your score prediction for Middlesbrough versus Wrexham?
I like to say it makes it easier, but I am unfortunately backing Middlesbrough for the win, and I'm going to go 2-1 Middlesbrough.
And I'm predicting Middlesbrough 2, Wrexham 0. I think they'll have far too much for Wrexham. I think, like Jamie rightly said, yes, we have done well on the road, but a lot of the problems have been glossed over by some weak play by the opposition rather than fantastic play by us. Not saying we've played badly, but I think we've squandered lots of chances. After watching at Stoke last week, that was the worst Wrexham that I've seen, and that my fear is that that's always underlying. And I think Middlesbrough, they're going to know what they're doing. They are seasoned veterans at this level, and they're going to have way too much for us. So I think a 2-0 loss for Wrexham. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next is the fryer, the big game of the weekend. It's Aberystwyth Town Women. So Sunday the 26th of October at 2 p.m. GMT. Don't forget the clocks go back. So 2 p.m. GMT, not BST. Sunday the 26th of October, Aberystwyth Town Women versus Wrexham Women at the glory that is Park Avenue Stadium in Aberystwyth. Back to Aldrin Premier action, of course, for Wrexham Women. Last year, Aberystwyth struggled and just managed to avoid relegation with 1 win, 2 draws, and 11 losses. A goal difference of -32 and 5 points, putting them 7th in the league. This year, they've battled hard under their new manager, Rhys John James. You know him? In any relation?
No, I'm not familiar with him.
Good, okay. They're currently 6th in the league with 3 wins and 3 losses, goal difference of -4, and 9 points clear of that all-important relegation place. So already that's a much better cushion. I
can't be sure about not being related to him, though. Sorry,
well,
that was two different questions there. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, anyway. Yes, fine. Wrexham and Aberystwyth only met twice in the league last year, with Wrexham winning both. In fact, Aberystwyth haven't beaten Wrexham since January 2023. And the chips are done. So always a fun journey up to Aberystwyth. Daz, Aberystwyth haven't been terrible this season. They've battled, and I think they've exceeded expectations, certainly, because as you rightly say, you've said before, it's very difficult to recruit. You know, the players they get, there's not a huge pool to choose from. So I mean, this is a decent side that Wrexham are going to meet, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think they recruit locally. So they've got that spirit and heart from the fact that they are playing for their local team. They are the only team in West Wales of this level. So it's absolutely the team that they all want to play for. But it's a tough situation to be when your amateur status playing against semi-pros, and that's always been the battle. But yeah, you're right. They've had a surprising couple of results, but then even last year, even when it wasn't going well last year, and luckily they weren't the worst. So by default, that's your measure. Just don't be in last place. That's all this league's all about, is don't be in last place. Luckily, somebody were worse than them, but actually, they had a couple of games where they were just hard to beat. But the problem is they just didn't have that capacity to score when they needed to. This year, they seem to be doing a little bit better. They've got, like last weekend. They had the weekend often, but the weekend before they came back from 2-0 down to 3-2 up. So there's a battling spirit. They've got some goal scorers. They've managed to keep hold of some of their seasoned veterans in terms of within the team. They've not lost them to perhaps arguably the bigger clubs. There's some really talented players like Imi Schofield and Lily Morale Hughes and stuff. So there's some really quality players that I think could use this platform. I think they could use this platform to demonstrate what they're capable of, and I think they'll be a tough team to beat. But this thing that we do every week has made me realize that I think the gap that Wrexham, by watching Wrexham more and more and more, the fact that you're investing massively, the fact that you've got these quality players that are coming in from the English setup, we're not quite pulling the same names. We're not pulling the same kind of stats that are coming in with the players. So there's a gulf, and this gulf should start to be showing a bit more. And both yourselves at Cardiff should begin to be able to force that superiority, really. But it's at Aber. It's on a windy day. It's like Stoke on a Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
it was blowing a gale last when I was there last year. That's for sure.
It's a very exposed. It's along the river. It's very exposed. It's not the. It hasn't got the surrounding buildings and stuff to keep it protected. So it's a tough place to play when the weather's tough. So maybe that's one thing that might go in their favour, because I know there's some rough weather ahead as well. So I don't know. I'm clutching at straws. If you don't win, you should be disappointed.
I don't know whether you saw as well. Obviously, Swansea played Ponte in the game last week. They beat them 10-1.
10-1. It's that is the bottom team against the top three. That should be the gulf at the moment because of the way the investment's going. I mean, maybe 10 is a bit harsh. 6 or 7, and then swap the entire team for your subs bench should have been the order.
I mean, that's massively helped Swansea's goal difference as well, which is great for them. So yeah, that's really good. Time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce cork. I'll go first in this one. I think this is going to be a great game. I really do. I think this is going to be a good test for Wrexham. I think Aberystwyth will be up for this because they've got nothing to lose. I know we used the term a number of times over the weeks, a free hit, but I think they've got nothing to lose in this one. So I think they will go for it, but I think Wrexham will just about have enough, and I think it's going to be Aberystwyth Town Women 2, Wrexham 3. Daz, what's your score prediction for Aberystwyth Town Women versus Wrexham Women?
Similarly, but I've gone 3-1 to Wrexham.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Aberystwyth Town Women versus Wrexham Women?
That was legit what I had as well, 3-1 Wrexham.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. Next into the fryer, it's Poland Women. So Tuesday, 28th of October, kick-off 7:45 p.m. GMT at Rodney Parade in Newport. Second friendly of the week for Cymru Women as they welcome Poland Women to Newport. Currently, Poland are 26th in the world. They also had their debut tournament in the summer with the Euros, managing a fantastic 3-2 win over Denmark in the group stage. So far this year, they've played 10, won 7, drawn 1, lost 2. And they play the Netherlands on the same day as we play Australia. Most of their players play in the European leagues for giants such as Bayern Munich, Dijon, and Juventus. The last time these two sides met was in the Cyprus Women's Cup in 2016, where they drew 1-1, and the Cymru goal that day, of course, was scored by Helen Ward. And the chips are done. So Daz, second friendly. Lower in the world rankings, but Poland seem to have a better record over the last year. I mean, that Denmark win, I watched that. I thought they were superb against Denmark, and Denmark are absolutely no mugs.
No,
so
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what comes from this game, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget they did lose 3-0 to Sweden, which we'd obviously competed against Sweden in the in the build up to that in terms of qualifiers, and we'd managed to hold them to some tight games. They also played Germany, who we've managed to keep to a draw in recent memory as well. So, they are about. They have improved. They're certainly the ones in the ascendancy, and they definitely had a better tournament than us just to get that result. We were chuffed with one goal. I mean, they managed to get a result. So, but they weren't in a group of death. They weren't in against 3 former winners and the ultimate champions. So, it's hard to compare like for like, but they definitely enjoyed their experience. They were well up for it. I think this is going to be a very close game. They're very equally matched in terms of their world rankings. They're as much as it's a shame this one perhaps isn't before the Australia one, because I think this would have been a better warm up for a genuine competitive match. But that's just the way it is. And I also can't decide what effect playing at Newport will have. Because it's a different.
Everybody will get their cars nicked for a start.
This is not the official opinion of the podcast. Just his. No, I think it's a different ground, isn't it? As in the atmosphere and the success rate at Newport is a little bit mixed. Whereas I just think there's something different when we're playing in Cardiff. So. Yeah, so it's going to be very tight. But I think it's a good opponent to try. Shame it's not the other way around.
So, time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce Koch. Daz, what's your score prediction for Cymru Women versus Poland Women?
I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Cymru Women versus Poland Women?
Not a fucking clue.
I love the fact you're talking about commentary. We're not even talking about commentary this week. That's next week. So it shows how switched on you are.
Listen. The days are just a blur to me at the moment, honestly. Right, Poland Women. Where are they ranked in the world?
26. Did I say that, Des?
I think you did say it. I think you did say it out loud.
Don't listen to what you say. Have you not figured that out yet? I genuinely don't listen to what you say. I haven't done for the last 45 years. I'm not going to start now. Yeah, I think. What did you say? That's 1-1.
I don't know. Did I? I don't know. You might have to wait until this comes out before you can find out.
You said 1-1. Okay, fair enough.
It was 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. Okay, then. So then, just to be different, so that there's a little bit of spice in it, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Poland win.
And I'm predicting Cymru Women 0, Poland 1. I think I agree with Daz completely. I think this has been very close, but I think Poland are going to have just about enough to squeak this, and I think they will squeak the win 1-0. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And last into the fryer this week, a very unappetizing meal to say the least. It's Cardiff City. So 15 minutes after Cymru Women kick off on Tuesday at the Stoke Kairos, Wrexham will play Cardiff City in round 4 of the Carabao Cup. Old foes return as Cardiff City come to the racecourse in the last 16 of the Carabao Cup. Following their relegation from the Championship last season, Cardiff have done exceptionally well in League One under new manager Brian Barry Murphy. And I was trying to work out why Brian Barry Murphy, because Brian Murphy was George out of George and Mildred. I worked that out. So that's obviously he wanted to put the Barry in there to mix that up. They're currently sitting top of League One. In the Cup, they beat Swindon Town 2-1 at home in round 1, Cheltenham Town 3-0 at home in round 2, and Burnley, Premiership Burnley away 2-1 in round 3. Wrexham, of course, beat Hull City on penalties at home in round 1, Preston North End away 3-2 in round 2, and Reading 2-0 at home in round 3. Cardiff and Wrexham have a long rivalry, which dates back to our first ever meeting in the Welsh Cup fourth round in 1911, which Cardiff won. Since then, we've met 76 times, Wrexham winning 24, drawing 14 and losing 39. The last time we met was in 2004 in the FAW Premier Cup semi-final at the racecourse. The final score was 2-2, and then Wrexham went on to win 7-6 on penalties. The Wrexham goals that day were scored by Chris Llewellyn and Chris Armstrong. Wrexham hold the record for Welsh FA Cup wins with 23, one more than Cardiff. They also met the last final of the Welsh Cup before the Welsh clubs playing in the English leagues were banned from entering by UEFA. Wrexham won that last final 2-1, with both goals that day scored by Psycho Gary Bennett.
Psycho.
And the chips are done. Jamie, some people love the fact that we've drawn Cardiff. Some people hate the fact we've drawn Cardiff. I mean, as you said a few weeks ago, if we manage to win this, we will be in the last 8 of this championship. We'll be in the quarterfinals. You know, Cardiff are no mugs. They've done incredibly well at League One level. Although they were beaten by Newport in the EFL trophy group game 1-0, but they had a load of kids on. They're not going to be playing kids on the Tuesday. They're going to be playing a full side, guaranteed. Because for them, it will be a statement to make. What kind of a game are you expecting?
Fiery. I think it will be. Maybe hostile is not the right word, but I think even though it's midweek, they're obviously going to bring a full away end, which and I'm sure they'll be noisy. I think for all the criticisms of the atmosphere at the Kairos, I think this season I expect this to be rocking. I'm gutted that I can't go, unfortunately, but I think it'll be a very lively atmosphere, and I expect that to be transferred onto onto the pitch as well. Even though you haven't necessarily got teams full of local lads from both Cardiff and Wrexham. Parky knows the score, doesn't he? From a Wrexham perspective, he will drill into the players how much this means to the Wrexham fans. We've had years and years of being taunted and looked down the noses at us by Cardiff, by Swansea, by Newport to a degree, and now we're the big fish, the big fish. However, that does make me a little bit nervous. I think I said it when we got this draw. I'm happy about it because take away the derby element of it, the Welsh derby element of it. Sorry, before I got told off last time I said anything about that. The Welsh derby element of it. If you take that away for a second, the bottom line is, and the thing that you've got to focus on here is this is a championship team against a League One team with a chance to get into the last 8 of the competition. That should be a huge motivator for our players. And I'm sure Parky will drill that into them. There's part of me that thinks this might be, as much as on one hand, I think this is going to be quite a close, cagey game. There's also a little part of me that's got a suspicion that this could be like, actually, if we turn up and we've got the right mentality, I think we could hit him quite hard, if I'm honest, because I think he'll go all out with his squad, with his players. That I don't think there'll be a huge amount of rotation. Now we're at this stage of the competition. I know in previous games he's rotated the whole team. I don't think he'll necessarily get that this time. I think maybe 4 or 5 changes, but I expect this to be some key players in there. I'd expect, subject to injuries after Middlesbrough, I'd expect the likes of Broadhead and Moore to be playing. Obviously, with the kind of Welsh connection, they're going to know what the rivalry means. So yeah, it's we've said it again. There should be another catchphrase. We've said it a million times, haven't we? It's always difficult to predict a Tuesday game after the Saturday game, and even though they're not 2 league games, Tuesday night could very much have a bearing. What happens on Tuesday night could very much depend on what happens against Middlesbrough. So I don't know. Either way, I am nervous about it. It's hard not to be, because as much as I'm saying here about it'd be great to win and we want to win, and we've had years of being looked down at by them, the last thing I want to do is lose to Cardiff. If we're going to go out of this competition, I don't want to go out to them, because you'll never hear the end of it. So yeah, that is a slight concern, but I'm going to put confidence in Parky and the coaching staff and the players, and I think we'll be all right.
Daz, you and I both live in South Wales. We know many Cardiff fans. Their mouths are watering at this prospect because they're no mugs. They came down from the Championship last year. They have absolutely been, taking League One by the scruff of the neck and pulling out some great results. Times where they've been down and scoring in the last minutes, to grab results and whatever. Brian Barry Murphy is a very, very, very good manager. He's finally got a bunch of players which were failing on a regular basis for a couple of seasons up in the Championship to actually start to click and really start to put pressure on.
Why does he sound like a character from Gavin and Stacey? I don't know why.
Is this a nervous thing for Wrexham? Do you think Wrexham might blow this? Do you think Wrexham, because they're at home, because they are in the Championship and Cardiff are in League One, do you think this is all kind of me just panicking because I don't want us to lose? I don't want us to lose, and I do not want us to lose to Cardiff. I won't be able to handle it.
So much to unpick from all of that. I would say you're right to be nervous. I think, but that nervousness obviously is born out of that local rivalry, of course. I think your assessment is right. They're flying high in the division below. You've stabilized in the division you're in, and for them it was a good. It's probably the best thing that's happened to Cardiff in a while, to have a bit of a reset, a rethink, a bit of a sense check of actually, as a big club, they are still. I know what I'm going to say is controversial, but they are the biggest club in Wales. They are, in terms of the nature.
Fall out with people, you know that. Don't you?
I know. I said this last week. I stick by it.
And you weren't right then.
But biggest ground, probably the numbers of fans are probably, and all the history and everything that goes with it. But they are completely underachieving, and this manager's has got them playing much better. Has managed to get the best out of their front line. Their goalkeeper is the one to watch. He's, I think he's on loan from somewhere significant, but he is definitely the one that's been also helping them keep these brilliant results. I mean, they've had a couple of defeats in the last 5 or 6, and still they're top of the table. So it just shows how well they're doing. So big up to the Cardiff City success story in terms of turning it around. I know Vincent Tan is looking for anybody to buy it, but he won't get rid of it for a certain price. So there's this.
He's still a knob.
Yeah, there's still this hiatus that the club, a lot of the fans are done with him, but until he gets a price match that he's happy with, he's not moving anywhere. So, it is a weird sort of state of play there. They don't fill the stadium in the same way as they used to. Obviously, I appreciate that. It's hard to generate those numbers when you're watching League One. Fair enough. So yes, it's interesting living down here and hearing all of this sort of conversation, but they fancy it. They do fancy it. They're riding high. Yes, you're right. The Newport game was a bit of a glitch, but you won't win anything with kids. And so all eyes are on this, because it is a way of getting that much closer to a major final. A Wembley day out, whatever you want to call it. It's really, really close. And to think that there's going to be a Welsh team in the next round, whatever, to the neutral, that's great. But this is going to be quite the test, because they are going to be up for it. There's absolutely no doubt they're up for it, because you've got the Hollywood sight on your backs again, because they feel there's still an element of their status is being in threat. Is in threat of being surpassed by Wrexham's, and. Certainly in popularity and profile, it has already, but Cardiff can't afford to be off the pace compared to yourselves and Swansea for too long. Otherwise, we'll have to rethink this. The biggest club in Wales status quite soon.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Cardiff City?
3-1 to Wrexham.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Wow. Daz, what's your score prediction? What's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Cardiff City?
I've only gone for 2-1 Wrexham, but I still think it's Wrexham. Home advantage.
And I predicted Wrexham 2, Cardiff City 1. No. Under any circumstances, no. I don't care how you do it, Wrexham. If you put 22 people on the pitch with a machine gun and a tank, I don't care. You must not, under any circumstances, lose this game. Okay? You can lose lots of other games this season. Just don't lose this one, because I will never hear the last of it. Please. I'm asking you, please. Don't lose this game. Just do your thing. Score more goals than they do. Send them packing back to League One where they belong, because there's only one team in Wales. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm.
Come on, Aberystwyth Town.
And we'll be looking back at all 5 of these games in next week's pod. So a bumper pack all over. Next week, we'll look back at the 2 Wrexham games versus Middlesbrough and Cardiff City, the 2 Cymru Women's games versus Australia and Poland, plus that fantastic Aberystwyth Town Women versus Wrexham Women game, before welcoming league leaders Coventry City to the Stoke Kairos on a Friday night under the lights. Wrexham Women are at home to TNS to try and get revenge on that win fairly recently. And Wrexham have a long midweek trip away to Portsmouth, which will not be fun, to say the least. Please let us know by the usual comments on YouTube, Spotify, whatever it may be, if you've enjoyed it or if you've got questions. Also, send us an email if you want to, eatmorechipspodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. Excuse me. Fly in the ointment. Of course, none of this is possible without the 2 hombres sitting next to me. So, thank you, Jamie.
Pleasure.
You can do Coventry City next week. Is that all right?
Listen, it's just a reflection on how chaotic my life is at the minute. The fact that I prepped for a game that we're actually not even reviewing this week, but I didn't know anything about 3 of the games you've asked me about.
So if you manage to get them correct and get back to the top of the league, it'll be even more remarkable, won't it? Let's be honest.
It'll be a fucking miracle.
It'll be the new tactic he uses for the rest of the season.
I was going to say, yeah, don't plan anything. Just make it up as you go along. Not that he's not been doing that anyway. Daz, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are you coming on a jaunt on Sunday to Aber? Are you not sure? Okay.
I'm working this weekend, so it's no problem. I just don't know if I could get away, but fingers crossed.
I will message you anyway, and then if you can, great, and if you can't, I will support Wrexham and give Aber dogs abuse in your absence. Of course, I've been Welsh Techie, thoroughly enjoying. I did enjoy Stoke, by the way. What a horrible place and horrible fans. They were really horrible. But hopefully we'll have better results this week. And so, until next week, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 1-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
He's it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy has 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.